Good morning, student. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll start with transfer function system. Uh, this topic we have started, but I think we will repeat that thing. So in last class, I think we have discussed up to this point. Okay, we'll continue with that. Delta f equal to 1 by 2 pi ddt of d delta. Yes or no? This thing we have derived. Yes or no? This thing? Or let us say we'll start from the beginning. So let us say the frequency at steady state, that is the synchronous frequency is Fs. So your speed will be omega s equal to 2 pi Fs. Now delta delta, this is the change in the power angle. This is the change in the angular position of the generator rotor corresponding to increased load demand, that is delta PD of the generator. So initial angle is your delta s. Now there is a change in the angle, that is delta delta. So the final angle is delta equal to delta s plus delta. Now omega equal to, we know that ddt of delta, because this is speed, angular speed, and this is the angle. So angular speed will be rate of change of the angle. So ddt of delta. Now what is delta? Delta equal to delta s plus delta delta. So this will be ddt of delta s means omega s, and this will be ddt of delta delta. So finally we are getting omega equal to omega s plus delta omega, because this is ddt of delta delta. That means omega s plus delta delta. Now omega equal, we can have this f because omega equal to 2 pi f. Okay, so 2 pi f equal to 2 pi fs equal to 2 pi into delta delta. So 2 pi will cancel. So this will be f equal to fs plus delta f. Now delta f equal to 1 by 2 pi ddt of d delta. Okay, so that means from here we can say that this delta f will be equal to 1 by 2 pi into ddt of delta delta. This point is clear? This derivation is clear, this particular thing, or should I derive it? This one is clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we'll have the first is the kinetic energy stored in the machine. So kinetic energy equal to half into I omega square. I is the moment of inertia, omega is your angular speed. So omega equal to your 2 pi f. Okay. So omega equal to 2 pi f. So this is half into I into 2 pi f square. Now kinetic energy at synchronous speed, this will be half into I into 2 pi f s square. So now we are taking the ratio. So that is W by Ws. Okay. I will, let us say I will derive it. So kinetic energy at the initial condition, let us say W equal to half into I is the moment of inertia. This is omega square. So this will be half into I into 2 pi f whole square. And Ws, this will be equal to half into I into omega square. So this will be half I. This is 2 pi fs square. So now we'll take the ratio. So that is W by Ws. So this will be 2 pi f by 2 pi f square. So 2 pi will cancel. So this will be f by fs whole square. So this will be W equal to Ws into f by fs whole square. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now you see f equal to your fs plus delta f. Okay, Fs plus delta F we are substituting because this F equal to Fs plus delta F. This is the change in the frequency. So now we'll take the approximation. I will derive it so that it will be clear. Okay. So this is equal to your Ws, and this is 1. So this is F equal to your Fs plus delta F divided by Fs square. This is square. So we'll get Ws, and this is equal to your 1 plus F by Fs whole square. Yes or no? Clear, na? So this will be 1 plus 2 into F into Fs, and this will be F by Fs. Sorry, this will be delta F actually. This will be delta F. This is delta F. So this will be delta F by delta S, and this will be delta F by Fs whole square. Now you see this delta F is very small. This is very small. And when you are taking square of that, this term is very, very small. So we can neglect it. Basically, we can neglect it. So W equal to, this W will be equal to Ws into 1 plus 2 into delta F by Fs. So the rate of change of, now we are differentiating with respect to T. Okay. So that is the rate of change of the kinetic energy, stored kinetic energy. This will be dW by dt. So this is equal to, this is 0. So 2 by Fs ddt of delta F. Yes or no? 2 into Ws. Ws will be also there. 2 into Ws by Fs into ddt of delta F. This is clear or not? Okay. This part is clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. So you see, this is the derivation. Now rate of change is this one. Now we know that we need to take the per unit of this particular thing. So per unit, how we can take? See, PR is the rating of the generator. So we are defining per unit inertia constant H. This is Ws by PR. Okay, Ws by PR is the, that means it will be in per unit. So that is, we'll substitute here. So this is Ws by PR. So that means this will be twice H by Fs. Okay, and this will be dt of delta F. So this will be in per unit. Okay, PR is equal to 1 per unit here. PR equal to 1 per unit. So that's why the PR is not coming here. PR means the rating of the generator. PR is the rating of the generator. Is it clear? This up to this step? Up to this step is clear? Up to this? This one? Hello?
No, sir.
Okay. So now you see this, we are defining that there are composite loads. Okay, they will also experience a change in the power consumption with respect to the frequency. So the damping factor D equal to, it is defined as delta PD by delta F, where PD is the load demand and F is the frequency. So delta PD by delta F means it is basically rate of change of the load with respect to the frequency. So the differential change in the load will be how much? This will be D into delta F. this will be d into delta f. That is the differential change in the load. Now we have the generation, we have the load. Now change in generation minus change in load, this will be accounted in two ways. First is the rate of change of load, that is the differential change of load, that is delta PD, plus the rate of change of the stored kinetic energy. Okay, so now what will happen, we'll just derive it. So first thing is your rate of change of, that is the first is the change in generation minus change in load. This is accounted in two ways. So first factor is your, that is the differential, that is delta PD. Okay, so this is d into delta f, d into delta f plus this will be 2 into ws by fs into ddt of delta f. Okay, so this is the basically the change in generation, means if there is a change in generation minus change in load, this will be accounted in two ways. These are the two factors. Okay, now we are taking the Laplace transform. We are taking the Laplace transform. We are taking the Laplace transform. So this will be delta PGS minus delta PDS equal to d into delta Fs plus 2 WFS, Ws by Fs. This is S into delta Fs. So now we'll take this side, this delta Fs common. So this will be your d plus 2s into ws by fs. This will be delta pgs minus delta pds. So your delta fs, we are interested in what is the rate of change of frequency, that is the what is the change in frequency. This will be equal to delta pgs minus delta pds into 1 by d plus 2 ws by fs into s. Okay, so this is the basically your rate of change of the frequency. Okay, so you see this is a derivation d plus twice h. So here actually instead of that we are taking the per unit, so this will be twice h actually. So when we are doing this calculation, so we have to keep in mind this will be in per unit. So if you want to write in per unit, so this will be your delta PGS minus delta PDS into 1 by d plus this ws by PR is your HS. HS equal to, we have defined that this is equal to ws by PR, where PR equal to your 1 per unit. So that means this will be twice HS by FS into S. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt from anyone? Please tell me. If you have any doubt, please tell me.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, just a minute. So now you see, we are defining a constant, that is Kp. Kp equal to 1 by d, okay, and this Tp equal to twice h by Fst. So how we are defining? Let us say. So from here, I will erase the first line so that it will, here I can write. So you see here this delta Fs equal to delta Pgs minus delta Pds. And this thing you see we are taking common, that is 1 by d we are taking here. So d is taken common. Okay, so this will be 1 by d is taken common. So that means this will be 1 and this will be twice Hs by d into Fs into S. So this will be delta Pgs minus delta Pds into, this will be Kp by 1 plus STPS. So that means here Kp equal to 1 by d and Tp equal to twice Hs by d into Fs. So is it clear up to this? Any doubt? Any doubt from anyone?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So this we can represent with the help of block diagram. Okay, how we can represent in terms of block diagram? Now I will draw that. Okay, so there is a comparator. There is a comparator. So this comparator, the input signal is your delta Pgs. This is plus, and you have a input that is your delta Pds, and you have a block. That block is your, what is that block? Block is your Kps by 1 plus STPS, and this is equal to your delta. Okay, is it clear? So we can write, you see from here we can write delta Fs equal to delta Pgs minus delta Pds into by 1 plus STPS. Okay or not? Any doubt? This particular derivation, the block diagram. Yes or no? This particular thing. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is the final block diagram. This is delta Pgs minus delta Pds, and this is a block Kp by 1 plus STP, and this is delta Fs. So now we have a next thing is the steam turbine model. Now steam turbine model here in normal steady state, the turbine power PT keeps balance with the electromechanical area. See, in the turbine model, I will just, here some description is written so you can understand later on. In the turbine model, we have the basically that is, we have the input will be the governor input. Basically, from the so first there will be steam governor, that is the speed governor system, and after that there will be turbine, and thereafter we have the generator load model. So the input of the speed governor will be output of the speed governor will be the input to the turbine. So you see, this is delta PVS. This is the basically the change in the speed governor setting. This is the change in the speed governor setting. And delta PTGS, this is the basically your output of the turbine power. Okay, so that output of the turbine power will be the input to the generator. Okay, so I will just in the form of a block diagram, I will show you so that you can understand it. So we have basically first in this particular load frequency control, we have the speed governor, that is the first block. This is your speed governor. After that, you have the turbine. And then thereafter, you have the generator load. This is the generator. So this is along with the load. So you have to remember, there will be input to the speed governor. So output of the speed governor will be the input to the turbine, and output of the turbine will be the input to the generator. So this way they are actually coupled. So the turbine transfer function, it is written, that is KTG by 1 plus STG. This is the basically transfer function model of the turbine. Okay, where KTG is the gain constant and TTG, it is the time constant of the turbo generator. Okay, so this is the basically transfer function model of the turbine. Now next is what is the speed governing system, what is the block diagram of a turbine, and what is the block diagram of a generator load model. So all these models are known to you, because I told you in the beginning that unless and until we know what is the model of each component, we cannot perform the analysis. So when we have to perform the analysis, we need to know all the mathematical model of all these transfer functions. Okay. So first is your single control area. That means single control area means what is the concept of the single control area. So in each power station, we have these three components. So if any alternator, if it is generating the power, let us say it's a thermal power station. If it is generating, then there will be some speed governor, and there will be turbine, and there will be some alternator. Okay, so these three components will be connected in cascade. Now, like that, there will be multiple number of generators will be connected in parallel. Okay, so all these generators, and they may be located in geographically in different places. Okay, but when we are going to analyze those particular all these generators together, so that time we have to take into account the let us say the dynamics of all the generators. Okay, dynamics of all the generators. So together we can consider that they are operating in a single control area. They are operating in a single control area. So we'll understand that what is the concept of the single control area. In the previous section models, the turbine, generator, power system, and the speed governing systems are obtained. So we know these models. What are the models are there? We know. In practice, rarely a single generator fits a large area. Several generators connected in parallel, located also at different places, will supply the power needs of it geographically. So we have to understand this thing, that if, let us say, in a geographical let us say large area, a single generator will not be able to supply the total power. In that case, there are multiple number of generators are there, and those generators are connected with a common bus, and from there actually the power is spent. Okay, so these generators are connected in parallel, and they are located at different places to supply the needs of a geographical area. Quite normally, all these generators may have the same response characteristic for changes in load demand. In such cases, it is possible to define a control area grouping all the generators in the area together as a single equivalent generator. Okay, so we have to consider that all these generators are basically connected together, and these generators are it is like a single equivalent generator. For small load changes, all these generators swing in unison. Means if there is any change in the load, so obviously there will be change in the frequency. So those changes will be reflected and as a whole of the system. Okay, that means for all the generators there will be change in the frequency. So we know these are the models. Actually, this XCS is the basically the speed governor output. Okay, this is equal to, this is the model of the speed governing system. Ks by 1 plus STS, XAS, and this GPS is the basically your turbine power output, with turbine transfer function, Kp by 1 plus STP, and this delta Fs, it is the basically your generator load model. So when we have this kind of system, so together this system will be connected and they will be operating in a, so how they are connected and how they are operating, we'll basically see that thing. I will draw this block diagram so that you can understand one by one, because if I show you this as a whole, so it will be difficult for you, so I can understand that thing. So I will draw this block diagram, and then I will explain that how they are connected. Okay. So let us draw this block diagram first. So here, first you have a speed governor. Okay. So this is a comparator block. Okay. I think this is a line. So okay. It's a comparator block. Okay. So after that, we have a speed governor. So speed governor is your Ks by 1 plus STS. Okay, this is a speed governor. After that, you have a turbine. Okay, turbine is your Kt by 1 plus STT is the turbine. And then thereafter, you have a generator load model. Okay, there is a generator load model. So this is your plus, this is your delta PDS. So, and this will be your generator load model. So all they are connected in cascade, you see, they are all connected in cascade. So this is your delta Fs. Now from here we are taking a feedback. So that is your regulation, speed governor regulation. This is your 1 by R, and this is actually input to your this block, and this is your delta P reference. This is your positive. So this is basically the representation of single area power system. This is your basically input to the turbine, input to the speed governor. Okay, and this is the output. Okay, and this is the input to the turbine, and this is the output to the turbine, and the input to the turbine is fed to the your, so this is your delta PGS. Okay, delta PGS minus delta PDS, and here you have a governor output delta PS, and this is your delta XCS. So this is the basically your block diagram. Is it clear, this block diagram? Block diagram is clear to all of you? Any?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the model actually, whatever I have drawn, that model. So now next is the basics of the load frequency control. There are certain basics understanding we have to know, that what are the basic basically concept which is followed throughout this particular chapter. So first is that the basic requirements are to be fulfilled for successful operation of the system. First is the generation must be adequate to meet all the load demand. You see, we have to see the generation and the load demand should match. Second is the system frequency must be obtained within the narrow and the rigid limit. So we have to maintain the system frequency. Okay, that is the most important thing, and that's why we are doing this load frequency control. The system voltage profile must be maintained within the reasonable limits. So we need to maintain the voltage profile also, because voltage is one of the important component system. If the voltage is below the certain limits, we have all the electrical apparatus. So if this voltage profile is not maintained, so we can understand that the system we will have the problem in the equipments, and there is a problem on the over voltage and there is a problem on the under voltage. So the system voltage should be within plus minus 5% tolerance. Okay. Now, in case of interconnected operation, the tie line power flows must be obtained at the specified values. So we have to understand that for any interconnected operation, the tie line power should be maintained at the specified values. When real power balance between the generation and demand is achieved, the frequency specification is automatically satisfied. See, if there is a always there is a match between the generation and the demand, so there will not be any deviation in the system frequency. System frequency will be always maintained. Now, similarly, with a balance between reactive power generation and demand, the voltage profile is also maintained within the prescribed. See, we have to understand two things. One thing is that first point is that if there is a balance between the active power generation and the active power demand, at the beginning I told you, if there is a balance between the active power generation and the active power demand, the system frequency will be maintained. Okay. Similarly, if there is a balance between the reactive power generation and the reactive power demand, the voltage profile will be also maintained. So under steady state condition, the total real power generation in the system equals to the total megawatt demand plus the real power losses. So basically, we have to understand this concept also. The real power generation, real power means the active power. So the active power must be equal to your total load plus there are some transmission losses. So that losses will be also supplied by the generation. The generator has to supply that losses. Otherwise, the losses will come, that amount of loss that is actually incurred in the transmission line. That particular power will come from where? It will come from the generation itself. So any difference is immediately indicated by a change in the speed or the frequency. So if there is any change, so immediately change between the active power demand and active power generation. So reflected in terms of your speed or the frequency. Now the generators are fitted with speed governors with varying characteristics, different sensitivities, deadband response times, and troops. So we are not discussing at this point the deadbands and troops. All those things we'll discuss later on. They adjust the input to match the demand within their limits. So always we are trying to match the generation and demand. These two factors should match. Okay, that is always that we are always trying. So any change in the local demand within the permissible limit is absorbed by the generators in the system. So if there is any change in the load demand, so that is that should be within the permissible limit is absorbed by the generators. So that is the basically case. So any independent aim of the automatic generation control is to reschedule the generation changes to prescribed machines, pre-selected machines in the system after the governors have accommodated the load change in another. So if there is any change in the load, so automatically that has to be redistributed. The generator has to redistribute their load. We know that in the economic, I think we have discussed economic load dispatch. So you have seen there that in economic load dispatch, the generators are basically supplying the load. Okay, so there, how the generation scheduling is to be done, that is the basically task of this economic load dispatch. So when there is a change in the active power load demand, there will be economic load dispatch will be performed. So economic load, with the help of that economic load dispatch operation, will actually redistribute the total generation among the load, and then again the system will be actually it will be operated in the normal frequency. So thus the additional and the supplementary regulation devices are needed along with the governors for the proper regulation. Now, in order to understand the mechanism of the frequency control, consider a small step increase in the load. Okay, we have to understand that if there is increase in the load, okay, so we have to understand that what is the mechanism of the frequency control. The initial distribution of load increment is determined by the system impedance and the instantaneous relative generator rotor positions. The energy required to supply the load increment is drawn from the kinetic energy of the rotating machines. So initially, when the load has to be started, so that time the energy required to supply the load demand, it has to be, you need to supply the initial kinetic energy from the external. And as a result, the system frequency drops. the distribution of load during this period among the various machines is determined by the inertia of the rotors of the generators. And this problem is studied in that stability. So we have the power system stability. We'll understand in detail. So you see, if there are multiple number of generators are connected, so this will be the something the block diagram of the load frequency control. So you have this is a one generator, this is another generator, this is third generator. So this is scattering, let us say PG1, this is PG2, like that, this is PGN. So all these generators are supplying the generation, and there is a load. And you have a transmission line. So we'll come to those points. So generally, these all generations will be summed up at a particular point, and there is a load. So these total load and total generation, if there is a mismatch, so the frequency will be affected. So this is basically the gist of this particular concept. Okay, is it clear? Any doubt on this? Any doubt? I hope there is no doubt, or if there is any doubt, please ask me. You can tell.
No, sir.
Huh? It's fine, no? Okay, so I'll stop this thing now. I will share with your attendance. Okay, so please put your attendance, all of you.
Done, sir.
Is it over?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So I think we'll continue in next class. Okay. Thank you to all of you. Now I'll close this meeting. Now, one thing, your syllabus for the internal, it is your first topic will be your, what was your first topic? That is fault analysis. That is symmetrical fault analysis, then unsymmetrical fault analysis, and then you have the economic load dispatch. So these three chapters will be from my portion, your syllabus for the first internal test. Okay, is it clear? Because first from Monday, I think. Okay. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. I close this meeting.
Thank you, sir.